So, the first step in picking the right New Year's resolution is to check in with ourselves and ask, for which issue do we have the most motivation? Now, there may be many things that we want to change or add to our lives. So, in order to determine whether we have motivation to engage in a particular goal, we can take a moment to visualize what it would be like to attain that goal. So, for example, we may have always wanted to try to run a marathon. We may want to switch to a plant-based diet. We may want to learn how to play guitar. So we can think about these various goals and try to assign a value to our motivation. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy, satisfied, healthy, fulfilled would we be if we attained this potential goal? And if we have more than one goal, let's rank them so that we can get a sense of which ones would be most rewarding. Now, the second thing we can do in order to determine the right New Year's resolution for us is to fully think through, in an optimal world, what steps would we need to take in order to achieve this goal. And we want to think through the steps for the whole year so that this time next year we have followed through on our goals. Now, keep in mind that there are generally two types of goals. The first is a goal in which we do the same thing over and over again, or repeatedly avoid doing an unwanted behavior. So, for example, many of us may decide to give up caffeine in the new year, and so the steps in this process may be similar each day. We may have to figure out that each day, if we don't get the caffeine we need in the morning, we may need to do something like calisthenics for 10 minutes to get ourselves awake and going. Or perhaps there is another drink such as fruit juice that gives us a bit of energy without the negative consequences of caffeine. But other goals require progressive change. So, for example, if we want to run a marathon, we may need to gradually increase the frequency, speed, or duration of running in order to eventually meet our goal. And if possible, it's best to make sure that we think it all through initially so that we can consider whether this training program works for us. Okay, so here's the next step. If there is a goal that we really want to do, we've thought through the plan and considered the obstacles, and we still think that we can do it, then that is a great New Year's resolution. But maybe there's something that we really wanted to do, but there were obstacles that made it impossible. Do we give up the goal completely? Hopefully not. What would be better would be to try to modify the goal so that we can at least realistically achieve some of what we want. For example, we may not be able to take the time to train for a marathon. But what about a 5K? Maybe we can get some of the same fitness, health, and sense of accomplishment without all the burden. And if we think about it, training for 5Ks will make us more prepared to train for a marathon in the future if circumstances allow. And maybe a completely plant-based diet feels too cumbersome because we attend so many social events that serve meat and dairy products. But we still may be able to make substantial changes to our health and well-being if we at least have a plant-based diet when we're eating at home. Or we can't imagine eliminating caffeine altogether, but we can make a deal with ourselves that if we have 1 cup of coffee in the morning, we'll give up the other 4 cups we usually drink throughout the day. So if we try to manage our all or none thinking, we might be able to identify a resolution that's not everything we dreamed of, but still a significant step forward in the quality of our life. And finally, now that we've identified a resolution or resolutions, the right resolution is the one that we make sure we do every day of the year. Because no matter what we pick, if we don't keep our motivation high and make sure we focus on our goals, nothing will really work for us. But if we get up every morning like it's New Year's Day and reassert our New Year's resolution, we will be most likely to make the changes we want and realize that we are not so nuts after all.